Flaming sorry here, back at it again, once again. And today, I do apologize for not uploading much. I've just been very busy with other stuff that has been going on and haven't been debating for a card game change lately. So for right now, you're going to be seeing what I'll be bringing to tomorrow's event that'll be happening in Out of the Box Gaming in Thomasville, North Carolina, which is for the Shop Challenge for a potential promo for the first 16 and some other stuff. So for right now, what I got for you is the exact deck that I will be bringing to the meta, because there's going to be a bunch of people that's going to be coming apparently, and they're going to have all competitive decks. So I'm getting myself prepared and getting things taken care of. So for right now, Gandeeva is a really beautiful thing. So let's start out with the ride line. So right now we have our 0 for the Buckish. Good one in my opinion. You can always run of like any grade 0, like Who Can't Quit Sasuke, Sotodolchi, or anything. It doesn't matter on the grade 0. I just like it because it's just more of just fits the theme. Then you got the grade 1 Accurate, which it's really good if you're going second to where, or first to where, if your opponent aggroes, then you can call it to the rear. You can call it to the rear. If your opponent has like, two or more rears, if they don't, you can ride for free into this bad boy at Dipplemel. With Dipplemel, the moment that you ride into the grade 3 Gandeeva, it reduces it by 1 counterblast for that turn. And which it goes to this guy for the Flaming Martial Dragon Gandeeva. So what he does is that when the opponent's rear is retired during your turn, choose a card from your drop and bind it face down. And during your turn, if all your front row will get plus 2,000 for each card in the bind zone, face down in the bind zone. If your opponent has 5 or more, it gets a crit. And then for the 1 turn for the counterblast, which if this is reduced the moment you ride into it, it's for free. You choose the 5 with different grades, reveal the top 5, and if any of them match, they get retired. If it's 1 or less, you draw a card and bind 1 face down. So you can take advantage of the either or of being able to retire 1 or more, or 1 or less. And it depends on the certain situations, but it's mainly, you don't have to worry much about it, basically. So now, we're on to the actual deck. We have the 3 more copies for the Gandeeva, which is for the Persona riding, because you can easily be able to get the plus 10,000 in addition of the plus 2,000 for each card in your bind zone, which can give you a bigger number. Then we run 4 copies of Strigna. Now, Strigna is good, don't get me wrong, but eventually I see myself running 2 because there is going to be a better grade 3 in the new set coming out that's going to jump the deck, skyrocketing the price, and it's going to make it much better than Strigna. With Strigna, when it's placed, if you have a Vanguard with Gandeeva, Soul Blast, bind 1 other rear guard face down, choose 1 of the opponent's rear and retire it. If you do not, draw 1, and then choose a card from the drop zone and bind it face down. So you get it still the either or situation to bind to be able to have 2 cards to bind. But the moment you have the other on the board and this other one gets called, you can just bind the Strigna already there face down and just combo off from there. Then we got the 2 copies of Kolofang. You don't want to run this too often, so it's just a better staple balancing for it to be at the 2, because if it's discarded for the ride, Soul Blast, put this at the bottom and draw, and then when it's placed, if you Persona ride, Counter Blast, and retire all of your opponent's rear guards that are in the same combo as him. So you can easily potentially retire 1 or 2 guaranteed for the Gandeeva to trigger. Next one that we have the Drag Gritter, running 4 of it, which is the main card that you heavily need because it gives you the additional executive attacks. Because when you attack with Gandeeva, you can basically just counterblast, bind this, look at the top 5, and call one to the rear. So you can just call the Strigna, bind the other, and then just be able to eventually call a second Strigna to bind the one that has already used the effect and be able to go full combo to get additional consecutive attacks. So it gives you with these 2 out, it basically can give you additional of like 5 consecutive attacks. And it just depends on the certain matchups. But regardless of it, as long as even if in the mirror match, you're just more worried about trying to get up to 5 cards in a bind zone on turn 3. Then we run 3 copies of Rugged, which Rugged is fine. Because then when this gets called, counterblast, retire, did not, draw, and bind 1 face down. Which all cards that support the Gandeeva, it's going to have that second effect if you did not retire, draw a card, choose a card from your drop zone, and bind it. For the next one, we have only 1 Blast Artillery Dragon. I'm trying to get my hand on another copy of it, but we're going to adjust to our normal plays, because normally it'd be running 2 of him and then 2 Meteor Flares. For him, it's just a when it attack hits, retire it, draw a card, choose an opponent's rear, and retire it. Because then you can bind 2, be able to bind a card, and then be able to retire. But for now, instead of Meteor Flare Dragon, I'm running 3 copies of Travis. Travis is really good, because if the one's already been retired, counterblast, soul blast, choosing another one, choose an opponent's rear, retire it, and give it +10. So you can give Gandeeva, if the ones that you missed, you can just be able to retire it anyway, and then give yourself that additional +10,000 to itself, in addition of the +2,000 to itself for every card in a bind, so from Gandeeva's effect. So it really, really makes the deck sing with the full engine of the build. Onto the grade ones, we have the Bosun. Really good in my opinion. I would probably bump mine to a playset if I had enough room to where if I run less of the outer rears, I can definitely go playset of him. Because when you attack, and if he's in the back row, the moment that you have 3 or more cards in the bind zone, bind and face down and countercharge, so it adds an additional +1 to your 3, so you can get yourself a bit more closer to that magic number 5. I'm also running 4 PGs, which is the Twin Buckle Dragon, because it's the only one that I have. Normally you would run Elementaria Sanctitude for it, but because I didn't pull one or I didn't have the money, I had to stick with the 4 regular PGs. The Sanctitude is the highly recommended one, especially since Chronojet is around and Messiah in Standard. Because of them being able to give the Vanguard triple drive, or any card that it gives it triple drive, it allows you to PG for free as an order. Then we have the crit line, so I run 4 crit, I run 8 crit, 4 of the Conduct Spark. It could be any regular crit, doesn't matter which it is, as long as it's just a regular crit. Then 1 Cure Flare Draco Kit. It's a main staple for every Dragon Empire deck. For the Gar lines or for the heals, because then if it's 2 or greater by a non-effective ability, or it's original at 2 or greater, it gets a +15,000 shield, so you can guard it for 25,000 for that number. Then we have 4 Burning Flail Dragon, which, in my opinion, is a good crit to have, because then it goes into the soul, it gives it another unit +2, when it attacks or boosts, at the end of battle that this is boosted, it can put itself to the soul, which can give you more soul to use more plays with Strigna, Soul Blasting, and everything. Then I run three fronts of the Blaze Maiden Parama. It's your main one you want to do, because if the Vanguard is a grade 3 or greater, it gives itself a plus 5,000 shield, so it can be a 20,000 guard, which can allow you to be able to do the combos that you want to do and everything under the sun. Then we run the 3 noble heals of the Blaze Maidens, because it's what I got, and it can be any of the heals of the regulars. You can run of like 2 cure kids or 1 cure kid, or just none at all and just run the normal heals. That just mainly depends on you. It just mainly depends on your playstyle. The OT that we are running is the Dragon's D-BT10 of Resurgence. Main key card for every Dragon Empire OT, which stands for Overtrigger, by the way, for those that don't know. Because then it can choose the Vanguard every stand, so it can get a second attack out of it. Kind of like an Overlord effect. Then we only run 1 order, which we're running 3 copies of, because we don't want to run 4 to overkill and make it bricky. So Best Harvest is what makes Gandeeva really busted. Because the moment that I'm able to retire your cards, the opponent's rears, if I'm able to retire successfully, Best Harvest will allow me to withdraw additional cards off of it from giving the Vanguard that additional ability. So it really helps out with this build. It's just as long as you got the right combos, the right plays and adjustments, you can pretty much handle much. So what I'm going to do right now is to show a demonstration on how you want to play Gandeeva. It's gonna, the moment that we get the right hand is when I can demonstrate of how good it actually is. So it just mainly depends on what your preference is more of, and be able to do that. So give me a second. It'll be a flash for y'all. Alright, and I am back. So now we're in the set of circumstances to where we're having ourselves in this board state. So you are at 3 damage, and you were only able to have guards enough to where you have 4 cards in the drop zone. And this is basically your hand. So what you would do is just draw 1. Okay, good. We got a Bowman. So we can just call the 2 Bowmans the moment that in our grade 3 of our discard a ride to it. Counterblast for free. Calling a Bowman here. So then you can use the Gandeeva skill to flip the top 5. We have a 2, a 0, a 3, and a 0. So you're just being able to only retire 1. You still have to make sure you're still revealing regardless. So then that way you can... Sure, it gives the opponent the information to where they'll know, okay, I'm not going to be able to be hit all of a sudden with an OT. So for now, since there's just 1, draw 1, bind 1 face down. Then we can do the Gandeeva skill since 1 was retired, to bind 1. And we can... Yep, we don't have the Best Harvest. And we draw another Bowman, so we'll be able to do that. So we'll just do the boost to swing from going into the battle phase. From after doing that. Now we can just swing it with Gandeeva. Now, this is where things could be really busted for Gandeeva. Because now you can just stack to where Gritter first, Counterblast, bind. The 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to call Travis. Then Bowman's skill, since there's 3 or more exact, bind, countercharge. Because then you can give yourself those lower numbers, and then you can have the others 2 swing it with the biggers. Because then greater with skill, the counter, bind, top 5 again. You would call Bowman here. And Bowman skill to bind face down, countercharge. So with that, it gives you from going from 2 to having up to about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Basically, from going from 5 to 6 on turn 3, which then it can give you the additional crit, and then you're just trimming your normal twin drive for a PG and the front. That is normally already added to your frontline arsenal. So Gandeeva can be really out of hand from the right plays and the right hands, but at the same time, it mainly depends on your timing on how fast you want to win. If you're able to guarantee the wins, then you know you can go a little bit of an overkill to make sure on that insurance policy. But with that, yeah, it just mainly depends on what you see and what you really do with it. So thank you guys for watching this video. Hope you enjoy it. Smash the heck out of that like button if you enjoy this video, and press on the subscribe button to never miss a single video. And turn on the ring bell so you truly don't miss it at all, despite it just being subscribing. So Flaming Zard here, I am out. And before I forgot to mention, you're gonna have some other decks like you see here, and the other 2. You'll see these 3 decks once when they're in full power, and I'll be able to showcase it. So one more time, thank you guys for enjoying it. Smash the heck out of the like button if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to the channel, and click on the bell to never miss a single video. So with that in mind, Flaming Zard here, I'm out.